better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
Welcome to the dawn of a new, unified Republican government.
You need to have individuals that are good at execution and they're change agents, and then you're going to need those that can maintain the existing. But I think it is a little over the top, just like some of the prognosticating was a little over the top to say there's any type of knife fight going on.
Live from an undisclosed location.
To be clear about what Chicago is, it always will be a sanctuary city. To all those who are, after Tuesday's election, very nervous, is filled with anxiety has been spoken to, you are safe in Chicago. You are secure in Chicago, and you are supported in Chicago.
The murderers and others that are here illegally, they need to leave this country. And I think Rahm Emanuel needs to focus on the security of Chicago, the number of murders that are taking place there. This is not new legislation that we have to move. This is just enacting current law into the process.
Unchained and unstoppable.
I think it'd be fabulous to have him as Secretary of State. He's already known worldwide. He is a great manager. And he would do a lot both to represent America, which is what we need, and to reform the State Department, which is what we need. So I'd be very enthusiastic if he picks Rudy to be Secretary of State.
Who do you love? Howie Carr.
Everyone outside the U.S. is kind of mystified, I'd say. That's the polite word.
RUMP, SWABS, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
Stop it. You remember the United States, the most exclusive.
Hey, Charlie, wait a minute.
Yes,
wait a minute.
okay,
Of course I'm a United States Senator. If you want to say anybody in the Senate, I've spent my entire life fighting for working people, and I come from the working class.
But you have special privilege as a human being because you're a member of this most exclusive club. You're in Washington. You're recognized. You know.
Well, I don't accept
that you're an elite.
I accept that I'm a United States Senator.
At the same time, be one that is responsive and recognizes
your point.
Okay.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
What do you say to the people who dragged a poor white guy out of a car and beat him?
Oh my goodness, poor white people! Please, stop it, Carl. What I say to people that protest is that first of all, apparently has never been an acceptable.
Hold on,
pardon me. There has never been an acceptable.
Who do you love? Howie Carr.
The press coverage has been completely misleading on this. Obamacare has actually saved people money.
So why have three major insurance companies left the exchanges?
They've left the exchanges because this is a new and innovative insurance market for which they're not prepared. They want to offer expensive, broad network products that people don't want.
RUMP, SWABS, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
Welcome to the Howie Carr Show. I'm your host today. I am up by my bootstraps. I am a member of the working class. Not the white working class. I don't do racial profiling unlike Senator Bernie Sanders. I'm just from the working class, okay? 1-844-500-4242. Joining us now on the line is Joe Concha from thehill.com, and he's the media reporter for thehill.com. Joe, how you doing? You've been writing some good stuff lately.
Well, the check cleared, Howie. Good to hear. I was worried about that one. It was awfully big. You're working class, by the way? Come on.
I used to be. I'm as much working class as Bernie Sanders is. I mean, I come out of the working class. I'm the first. Seriously, I am the first person in my family to go to college.
Did you finish college?
Yes, I did. But I'll you know what? I'll gladly stand with my uneducated brethren.
He claims, Joe, that he was accepted into Brown, but that's never been confirmed.
I am
Really?
I am a Phi Beta Kappa graduate of the University of North Carolina. Now that we're name dropping and credentials shaming and all that kind of stuff. Yes, I'm done.
Wow.
I know.
Well, Chapel Hill, good for you. I couldn't see you down there. You don't seem like you fit in with the Southern folk all that well. More of a Northeastern kind of guy.
I am, but you know, I had a fake address in North Carolina so I could get in-state tuition. So that's what it boiled down to.
Really?
I lived.
It must have been so cheap. You did something illegal. You just said it on the air.
1040 West.
Lead to some trouble.
1040 West Market Street, Greensboro, North Carolina. Joe, you know what was there? The YMCA. I'm serious.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they fell for it.
They did.
That's crazy.
They did. There was a little
I'm pretty
motel.
Sure they could come after you.
There was a little motel behind it that my father knew the owner of the motel, but I still had this. I still had the address of the YMCA. All my mail was delivered to the motel. Yeah, I did. I pulled it off.
Insane.
The statute of limitations has run out on that one, though, Joe. So I'm okay. All right.
Do you know who Sid Rosenberg is?
Sid Rosenberg. Oh, yeah, he's the guy. I think I was on a panel with him on Talkers. He's a radio guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a sports guy. So one time he was sharing the fact that he actually was stealing a satellite signal. And he actually was served with a warrant, to search his house because they wanted to see if he really did have it. And sure enough, he did. So you might not want to share too much information.
Like I said, I think the statute of limitations. I'm sorry I'm this old, but the statute of limitations is expired. I went one day to federal court, Joe. Just to get off the topic a little bit more. They had one of these roundups where they sent out the signal, to all the people that were pirating, and they said, call this number if you want to get a free TV or something like that. And all these people called, and they sent out people and arrested them. And I was there when they were actually arraigned in federal court in Boston. It was hilarious. I mean, it was like there was nobody living in trailer parks that day in Boston. All these guys with tattoos, and they couldn't believe they couldn't smoke cigarettes in the courtroom. It was great stuff. Great stuff.
Wow. Is there a Howie Carr book eventually that's a memoir, like Settle for More? Is that coming out? Settle for Howie?
Settle for Less. That's our poll question, Joe. Have you gotten your copy of Settle for More yet?
I'm interviewing Megan on Thursday, actually.
Really? Are you looking forward to reading this book?
Hey, look, I love biographies, and I've read anyone I could get my hands on of anybody who's been successful in an unlikely way, and she's one of those people. So you could agree or disagree with her. You don't sound like you're a fan, but she went from X and now she's, all the way to A, and, you have to wonder how that happened. So it's yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know your audience probably hates me right now, but
being from
part of my job, I interview media people.
Having graduated from UNC, I would call it a memoir rather than a biography.
It is a memoir. You're right. Autobiography, right. But it is labeled as a memoir, correct. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's get your big scoop here today. What's your scoop? Tell us what you wrote about today on thehill.com.
Good job. So I wrote about how my sources tell me that Breitbart is planning a big league, to use a Trump term, lawsuit against a major media company. So sure enough, they gave me an exclusive statement, knowing that I was on to them, I suppose, and they won't tell me who the major media company is, but they're going to sue because they're mad that somebody out there is labeling their site as a white nationalist website, and they feel that is an unfair characterization, and they're going after them.
But it's CNN, right?
I don't know. I swear to God, if I had a Bible, I'd put it on it. They would not tell me. I do not know. But a lot of people are guessing those three letters.
Do you think they have any leg to stand on? I mean, isn't Breitbart sort of a public figure? I always kind of took it with a grain of salt when Donald Trump said he was going to sue. I mean, I know they wrote rotten things about him, but he's a public figure. So is Breitbart, aren't they?
Well, Breitbart's not a figure; it's an entity, right? So if you are saying that they're, basically synonymous with the KKK, that potentially can hurt their business with potential new customers. So I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure from what I've studied on this stuff that it would get a fair shake. I don't know if they'd win, but if they could prove it, and it's pretty easy, there are tapes and transcripts and stuff, yeah, maybe.
What do you make of Bannon? I only met him once at the convention in Cleveland, and if I had seen him out on the street, in Cleveland, and he'd asked me for a quarter, I would have said, yeah, I can. Yeah, that figures. I should have crossed to the other side of the street.
I met Steve Bannon once in New York just to kind of talk about stuff, and he came across as the thing that struck me about him is he's very measured. I don't see an extremist here in any capacity. No. You look at the resume: Goldman Sachs and Harvard, Georgetown. I believe.
Navy.
The Navy, right. So you take away Breitbart out of his resume, and no one would have a problem with this. But since, right conservative media is seen as the boogeyman, then suddenly they're saying a white supremacist, critics is going to the White House. And
so he worked in Hollywood too, Joe, right? And didn't he have an equity interest? I think I read this somewhere in Seinfeld. He runs Breitbart, which was founded by a guy named Andrew Breitbart, who happened to be a Jew. I mean, where is this I know the Renegade Jew headline and all that stuff, but where does this anti-Semitic thing come from?
Well, the Renegade Jew headline, it should be noted, David Horowitz wrote that story, and I don't know if the rules apply like they do with, say, rappers using the N-word, and it's okay because they're African Americans, and you're allowed to do it as long as it's your team. Well, Horowitz, I'm pretty sure, is Jewish, and was talking about a renegade Jew, so does that make it okay? If we're being consistent, no one should have a problem with that.
You're right.
The most interesting thing... Right?
Yeah, no, I used to write for, I've written for Breitbart. You know, I haven't done it lately because I've been tied up with other stuff. But, you know, the one thing when you hand in your story, when you email it to them, you know what they want with that? They want 3 headlines. So you're right. You're basically writing your own headline, and they pick one that fits.
Yeah, I guess they do that. Hell, they don't really let us do headline. I mean, you submit one, but I never end up getting the ones I want, but the ones they pick are better. So it depends on the publication. You know, I've never written for Breitbart. They've attributed, or aggregated my stuff once in a while, but that's about it. Sometimes to criticize me. And it's amazing the traffic they get. I mean, something like 37 million unique visitors in October. That's a ton. I mean, that's incredible. But the most interesting thing about Andrew Breitbart is that he co-founded the Huffington Post with Arianna Huffington.
I didn't know that.
I mean, who knew? Yeah,
wow.
Isn't that crazy? They were very close friends. So I don't know. I mean, what do we want to say here? I guess they're saying that, look, we're sick of being labeled this particular thing that is a horrible thing, white nationalist, a supremacist, whatever was said. Now we're gonna use our legal means because we have some cash to play with, and we're taking you to court. And maybe they're just trying to set a precedent that, you know, conservative media shouldn't be kicked around anymore and simply labeled as horribly as they have been, without some accountability.
Put the fear of God. Put the fear of God in them.
Media networks aren't going to do it, then legally we'll do it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Put the fear of God in them, and think maybe this is going to be another Gawker deal. How about that?
That's a very good point. That Gawker may have set a precedent that you take a sex tape of Hulk Hogan in the privacy of his own home. He's sued, and now Gawker is dead. Yeah. It doesn't even exist anymore.
I mean,
so
CNN has a lot more money than Gawker did, and I think they got a lot more defenses. But still, I see what, you know, you don't want to be tied up in court. Listen, how do you think the media is handling the transition so far?
Oh, good grief. Well, one more point on what you just said, by the way. Maybe the goal isn't to beat, let's say it is that network that you just brought up. Maybe it's just to discombobulate them. Maybe it's just to drag them through the mud and embarrass them. Maybe that's the only goal, not to actually win any money, but to just show we're not going to take it anymore type of thing. I'm just trying to get into their heads, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What do I think how the transition's been handled?
Yeah.
Like, unhinged, and it's the only word that comes to mind. It's so disappointing, you know? I mean, our leaders actually, right afterwards, Obama invites Trump to the White House. That's good. And Hillary says, you know, we should give this guy a chance. That's good. And Trump obviously was gracious back. Okay, so our political people actually were acting like adults for once. Trump, the media says, no. That's not going to work for us, this whole kumbaya thing. We need conflict. Because conflict is good. It leads to protests, and that brings us the big ratings that we had before the election. So media is not interested in any capacity in getting Trump even 1 hour of a honeymoon period. And it's just been it's more obnoxious than it was before the election, if that's possible, because they never really thought he was going to win, and now that he has, now really not even knives have come out anymore. The samurai swords have come out, and it's embarrassing. It just makes the whole industry look horrible.
I read this earlier today. This is, you know, the New York Times, you know, that, you know, the editor and the publisher sent out these letters and emails saying they were going to be fair and balanced. And they didn't really apologize, but they said they'd done a rotten job and all this stuff, and they were going to do a better job. Have you read the story today? Trump staff shakeup slows transition to near halt. This story is just on the, it hasn't been in the paper yet. It's just on the wire. Have you read this?
Mm-hmm.
This is
I saw the headline. I didn't read it.
You got to read the lead, Joe. You listen to this is the new Fair and Balanced New York Times. President-elect Donald J. Trump's transition operation plunged into disarray on Tuesday with the abrupt resignation of Mike Rogers, who would handle national security matters. The second shakeup in less than a week on a team that has not yet begun to execute the daunting task of taking over the government. Oh my God, Joe. Mike Rogers is gone. Who the hell is Mike Rogers?
Yeah. It hasn't even been a week since the election was called for Trump, right? This was Tuesday. It was last week.
Yeah,
exit polls
less than a week.
He was going to lose in a landslide.
Yeah.
Less than a week, and they haven't done the job yet? They haven't completed the job of filling 5,500 positions? that they're going to have to fill in this transition, I mean, it's over, baby. I mean, let's start looking at 2020 and President Bernie Sanders. What can you say?
I mean, and if it had been somebody that anybody had heard of, I mean, I know he's an ex-congressman from Michigan, and he had a talk show, so I know who he is. But, I mean, 99% of the American people have no idea who this guy is, right? And
I thought he was on MASH. Wasn't he the guy on MASH?
You're right. Maybe, you know what? Maybe this is a different guy. Maybe this is a different guy than the ex-congressman from Michigan with the talk show.
Yeah, I did a story, Howie, it was yesterday, that's right, because I looked at the letter. And they're not going to be fair and balanced. So let me go to their homepage. And I did what's called a Control F, and that's where a little box pops up on the screen. You put a name in, and then it'll show you, or a search term, every time that search term comes up. It's when you're trying to find stuff. So I just put in Trump. And I found 19 stories. Guess how many were positive?
0.
It is a number that you get when you multiply something by 0. Yeah, 0.
Which is 0,
19 to 0. That's remarkable. So one day after doing that letter, you couldn't find something to write about with a new president that won the most unlikely win in political history. You couldn't find one thing somewhere. Nah.
Hey, Joe, I've got a suggestion.
So, yeah, nothing's
I got a suggestion for the Fair and Balanced New York Times. How about one on the first immigrant? First lady in the history of the republic.
That's right. Or the first gay man to be appointed to be ambassador to UN, right?
Yeah.
Richard Grinnell is a Fox News contributor.
How about the first woman to manage a successful presidential campaign? How about that? How about a roundup? How about just 3 of these? How about 3? Yeah, those are 3 stories for the front page right there.
Trump election heralds diversity.
There you go. Yeah, right. Trump not taking a salary. That's a good idea. Trump declaring he's not going to take any long vacations. These are things that people hear about at home. They say, that's cool. Maybe I could like this guy if you didn't vote for him. But you're not going to read about it there. And it's called the paper of record. But quite frankly, when you don't endorse a Republican candidate in 60 years, it's 15 election cycles, you can't undo all that with one letter. It's the muscle memory and the culture of that paper, and it's never going to change.
Yeah. Okay, Joe, we got to go. We got to break, but thanks for being with us, and congratulations on your scoop. And we look forward to reading the initial complaints by Breitbart against CNN. Thank you. That's Joe Concha from the...
I didn't say CNN. Go Tar Heels.
Joe Concha from thehill.com, thehill.com. I'm Howie Carr.
That's right, Howie Carr.